All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking up the game we love tonight. We've got Rudy Reyes on the line. You can join him at the Rude Day Show or on SB Nation Radio, where he contributes as well. We're focusing tonight on the NFL draft, and of course, dreams coming true, or possibly for some, and others' hearts will be broken once we see how these rookies shake out, because despite all the resources, despite all the money, the facilities, the scouting, the meticulous measurements, a lot of it is just a lot of guesswork. Rudy, we appreciate you stopping by.
Hey, sure, not a problem. Thanks for having me on, Mark. Appreciate it.
So, Rudy, I believe if you look at the entirety of the draft, the number one question for most fans, aside from their particular teams, would be, what were the Cleveland Browns thinking with the first four picks? Okay, I believe that they most likely got two good football players, maybe one great one in Denzel Ward, but you needed the quarterback. They obviously got the top guy on their board, but a lot of people would have gone one of two different ways, either with a different quarterback, Sam Darnold, the choice of most general managers in the NFL, or Saquon Barkley is the best player, then you take one of the other two quarterbacks left.
I'll be honest with you. Baker Mayfield was a surprise to everybody. That threw everybody's board off. Nobody thought Baker Mayfield would be there after off-field shenanigans and things that really didn't contribute to him being looked at and being taken seriously as a number one overall pick in the NFL draft. You mentioned Saquon Barkley. I probably would have gone with him and then build it around maybe Josh Rosen, had he be available. He was until the ninth pick in the NFL draft, so anything was possible at that point. They could have got more bang for their buck, but I do like that Denzel Ward pick. The guy's solid, great footwork, good hand-eye coordination, knows how to get into wide receivers' heads with a little banter on the field, and I like that pick. I agree with probably most everybody out there. I wouldn't have went with Baker Mayfield the first overall pick. No way.
Hey, Rudy, when you scan the rest of the first round, what stands out to you in regards to whether it's a surprise or a steal or anything of that nature?
I look at Vita Vea, and of course, you probably want to rhyme that with something that came out of I Love Lucy, but Vita Vea, one of those guys that didn't quite really mesh with the defensive tackle position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But when you look at him, he kind of forces to make room inside of there. So regardless of who's next to him, he's going to, find his way to fudge through and get to, stopping traffic lanes that would be for running backs to get through, or halfbacks, or get to a quarterback. I thought that was a shocker, but he could be a pleasant surprise for the Tampa Bay defense that was almost last in sacks last year. So I think that was a good pickup. But of course, upon interviewing him, noticed that he wasn't wearing any shoes. And when I asked him, oddly enough, those look like my toes without shoes, he thought that was kind of interesting. Because I said, hey, do you ever go get a manicure? I mean, is that something you're thinking about doing? He says, no, I took them off because I had blisters on my feet. So overall, Vita Vea is certainly a guy, very humble Samoan gentleman, but I think will do fantastic for the Buccaneers.
Well, Rudy, you're getting to those details and those questions that nobody else is touching. You're getting to those specifics that are you talk about digging deep and getting to the nitty gritty right there. Vita Vea, obviously a tremendous force along the defensive front for the Washington Huskies. We've got Rudy Reyes on the line with us. You can catch him at the Rude Dog Show. Join him on Twitter as well. He'll direct you right there. If you go to the Twitter page, to all the various places you can find him, including SB Nation Radio as well. So wide receiver, not necessarily a great deep crop of wide receivers this year. Calvin Ridley, one of the best. Of course, DJ Moore out of Maryland. Your thoughts about the wide receiver position? Anyone in particular that maybe you like better than what the scouts showed us?
I like James Washington. I didn't see him going to the Steelers at all. Matter of fact, I see him dropping even further down in that particular round, or even to the fifth for that matter. James Washington at OSU receiving balls from the likes of Mason Rudolph. Now another Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback that Ben Roethlisberger has decided to look at, take seriously, and maybe him and James Washington can get some reps at training camp coming up. But I think James Washington at OSU, he's got good fight-off capabilities. In other words, he's going to grab that ball. he's going to run through and shed tacklers. I think James Washington is a pleasant surprise for Pittsburgh, and who knows where he lays in the depth chart now that Martavis Bryant has gone to Oakland in a very killer third-round steal. For me, in my opinion, that's great for Derek Carr and the Raiders, but James Washington, I think, could be an ultimate steal moving forward in the 2018 NFL season.
My steal was Derwin James out of Florida State going to, I believe, the Los Angeles Chargers at 17. I thought that was a really good pick for them. We've got a number of people, Rudy, on the line asking questions, making their comments. College football talk, guys. We're going to keep that to another day. And actually, you can join me at 7:30 Eastern time with Bill Belden from Slap the Sign to talk Notre Dame. So we're not going to sort out the Clemson quarterback position right now. We're on the line with Rudy Reyes. He's just back from the NFL draft and has some great insight for us. A number of things I'll read from the chat here. Somebody asking about Braxton Berrios to the Pats and your thoughts about that.
Braxton Berrios, I think that was he could be a surprise pick for the Patriots. I like him. He seems like a very nice guy. Didn't get a lot of chance to talk to him at all. But from what I do understand about him, solid guy, good character, and I think the Patriots got a gem.
All right, we've got another score prediction here. Texas beats Rutgers 80-0. Again, we're talking NFL draft here, and I don't think any of us, as this has become just a monstrosity in the last 35, 40 years, it's become a phenomenon, the NFL draft. I watched it when I was a grade school kid, and there weren't a whole lot of people knowledgeable about it, and it's just become beyond a cottage industry now. It's just something else. So give us a feel for those people that haven't been to the draft, Rudy, what this has become. And of course, it took on a whole new life going to Jerry's World this year.
You know, Jerry's World, and to give everybody insight, you're looking at about a third of what that stadium actually can hold. A lot of bright lights, lots of LEDs, a lot of moving parts. You had Michael Irvin on stage. They did everything short of dropping the confetti. They really did. And it was such a feeling. This was my first NFL draft, covering for SB Nation Radio, having interviewed, Josh Rosen and the stand-up, and just really soaking in the atmosphere, the people that are very nice, very accommodating. Of course, when you think bigger in Texas, the AT&T Stadium is definitely the largest facility, even remotely close to anything resembling Jerry's World in Texas. But overall, I encourage every fan out there to take part of at least one NFL draft in their lifetime. I was just fortunate to go in as a media member and experience what it's like to interview these guys right up front. Bradley Chubb, to name a few. It's just a great experience, and I'm going to go again next year. So look for that.
Sounds good. Hopefully I can join you down there as well. You mentioned Josh Rosen just a few minutes ago, and I didn't want to brush by that comment. We were addressing the first four picks of the draft. So I got two questions for you. What do you like about Rosen? I think you just mentioned that you liked him better than the other three. And then how did you have the four stacked up? And you could even throw Lamar Jackson in there.
I look at Josh Rosen. He's a nice guy, but he had a lot more to say than I thought he was going to say. He kind of kept it short and brief. Josh Rosen not happy about being picked 9th overall by Arizona. But you know what? If you're an NFL quarterback, you got to take where you can win those battles, and he did with Arizona. I think they got to steal with Josh Rosen. I do like Lamar Jackson. I think he's a sleeper guy, being the last, at least first-round irrelevant pick, because he's such a humble guy, and he kept reciting while interviews were going on, I'm just humbled to be here in the first round and be drafted. When you talk about Saquon Barkley, he was in there for half a moment, not too long. Saquon, nice kid, probably one of those I thought would have been a first overall draft pick, in my opinion, and if I were the Cleveland Browns, I would have nabbed him quickly and then worked around his athleticism. Kind of a Le'Veon Bell-esque is what I see him headed into 2018 in the NFL. Sam Darnold, nice young man, met him prior to Pac-12 in the media day down in Los Angeles. Nice young guy, very likable, very knowledgeable. He is a grinder. Whether or not he can get around those footwork issues and timing and being able to get the ball out when he needs to and not making untimely interceptions, I think is something that he'll need to work on. He knows what he has to do, but he also needs to be aware that New York media will crucify him. Not like Los Angeles, but New York media will crucify him if he doesn't make those corrections.
We got Rudy Reyes on the line from the Rude Dog Show. Look him up on Twitter. You can find all his various outlets right there, including SB Nation Radio, where he covered the NFL draft. Rudy, we know you're a bastion of knowledge, doing this with no notes, just driving around town. And we got our time zones crossed a little bit, and Rudy was kind enough to jump on right away with us. Somebody asking here about the Pittsburgh Steelers draft. And again, I completely understand if you're not knowing all the names, I could help you out there. But what comes to mind there with the Steelers?
You know, Mason Rudolph, we're going back to what I mentioned about Ben Roethlisberger being mindful and being aware that Mason Rudolph could be hot on his tail headed into the 2018 NFL training camp. But let's not forget, Martavis Bryant was traded because of production, because of drops. I like all the picks. And all I have to say to that Ben Roethlisberger conversation about him wanting to play for another 3 or 5 years remind me of what Tom Brady had said about him wanting to play till he's 45 years old. I don't know that he has that much time left. I think Mason Rudolph needs to show up and really stand out and really make himself known. James Washington, obviously the pick at OSU, we had mentioned that earlier, Mark. More importantly, he needs to show that he can be that every down possible slot receiver if for some reason Juju Smith-Schuster's covered and doubled. His production soared. I'm surprised he wasn't Rookie of the Year conversation, but I think overall they had a very solid draft. They added Dylan Bostic in free agency. I think that will help them as part of the core. Arthur Moats, still not sure. Steelers are leaving the door open for him. So defensively, I think they did a fantastic job. We're going to see where the secondary lies. Now they don't have Mike Mitchell there, lost in free agency as well. I want to see what they do defensively, if they can be better against the pass and rely more on textbook tackling than trying to knock somebody's head to the ground. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Trey Edmonds, definitely an interesting prospect as well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rudy Reyes, we got him on the line. You can catch him on the Rude Dog Show. Just coming back from the NFL draft, a ton of insight for us. Rudy, we hope to have you on sometime. You can catch him on SB Nation Radio with his contributions right there as well. For anybody tuning in to the Rude Dog Show, what can they expect, Rudy?
They can expect entertainingly factual information filled with energy, and I do it for about 2 hours. So if there's any insight that I can give you or anything you want to know about or learn about or talk about, feel free to add your input. I'm on Periscope, Facebook Live. I interact with people on Twitter throughout the show. And just stay tuned. Be open, keep your mind open, and enjoy the show.
Rudy, would love to have you back on here talking NFL draft, NFL college football, whatever you want to serve up for us.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.